scene is set for another Copa Tejas Classic deep in the heart of Texas. Amidst the international window, former U.S. international Juan Agudelo remains trying to lead a depleted San Antonio team, while a former SAFC forward Justin Dillon and his Locomotive might already feel like they're approaching their last stand. It's San Antonio and El Paso on CBS Sports. The lone game in the championship on this Wednesday night on CBS Sports. It is Copa Tejas, El Paso Locomotive, trying to get back on track tonight, away to San Antonio and Toyota Field. Take a look at the championship's Western Conference, and El Paso sits bottom. Just 8 points through 13 games, and now in the third game of the Wilmer Cabrera era. Meanwhile, San Antonio win, they move into third, but a couple losses this week, and they may find themselves outside the playoff top 8. And good evening, everyone. Welcome. Joined by Devin Kerr, Mike Watts on hand, and here we go with one of the great rivalries in the league, Devin. El Paso, San Antonio, Copa Tejas.
Two teams struggling, but still two of the top 10 best roster builds in the entirety of the USL Championship. So why not rivalry week, right? 11 games between the two, just under 3 goals per game. Utilize that emotion to your advantage to get your season back on track. So let's start with San Antonio FC and how they maintain this momentum at home. This team, since 2020, one of the best home records in the entirety of the league. Your Louisvilles, your Tampas, your Phoenixes, the usual characters. But I want to talk about the resumes of all of these teams. Spread out between the 5 squads. 5 conference titles, 2 Players' Shield, and 2 stars above the crest. San Antonio has only lost 5 games since 2020 at Toyota. That's best in the league. 7 games unbeaten to start 2024. In times of adversity, international duty, injuries, you need to lean on the home record, and you need to lean on your stars up top. The change of this team under Alan Marcina is about getting the players higher up the pitch, getting your attack-minded guys on a half turn and the ball at their feet. That's Jorge Hernandez, the vision maker in the final third. 25, 30 yards and in. He sees and knows everything. It's goals, it's assists, it's glory, and it's the momentum they need to keep this train rolling.
Meanwhile, for El Paso, their last 31 games, Devin, only 5 wins, so they make a change. Brian Clairhout out, in comes Wilmer Cabrera, but the Locomotive had success in the past.
They got the train going under Mark Lowry in 2019. Let's talk about the numbers on the left. All 3 that you see, points per game, wins, and points, top 5 in league history. Transition to the right, bottom 6 over the last 2.5 years. They've got to find a way to change this emotion, this energy, and gain some positive looks. This is about effort right now. Wilmer Cabrera very clear about the fact that he needs more energy and effort out of his guys. So I look at someone like Tumi Moshabani, whether it was with Lansing or San Diego and how those organizations ended. You speak to his coaches, Landon Donovan, Nate Miller. They talk about the work ethic of this young man and what he brings to the field to play. Lead, and they will follow.
They will need it tonight. El Paso will try and get a win in one of the most fearsome locales in the entire championship. San Antonio and El Paso. Lineups and kickoff coming up on CBS Sports Network. lineups tonight. San Antonio already depleted 4 changes from a 1-0 win against Memphis.
9 players out in total, 4 on international duty, 5 injured. With all the changes, they want to make sure they carry balance within this lineup. Alan Marcina talks about trying to narrow the field defensively, pushing El Paso Locomotive in to explode going the other direction for guys like Jake LaCava and Cameron Lacey on the outside. But watch the relationship up top. Hugo Mbam and Juan Agudelo, only 5 games together in total this season. What does that look like going forward? El Paso Locomotive and Wilmer Cabrera, they've got 5 players out, 2 through injury, 3 through international duty, 6 changes overall. Most importantly, though, Adair Borelli, where's the captain's arm man back into the outside back position on the left-hand side? He can bomb up and down either way. What does it look like in the midfield? If it gets narrowed out, can you retain possession, hold serve on the whip? Justin Dillon leading the attack up top. Used to be San Antonio FC's all-time leader in assists, now the front man for Locomotive.
Players have taken to the field. There is Justin Dillon in his return to San Antonio. What kind of impact can he have tonight as El Paso looks for its 2nd win in 3 games since Wilmer Cabrera took over? Ricardo Fierro, the referee for tonight's affair, and it should be a spirited one. One of the great rivalries in the championship. Copa Tejas kicks off in San Antonio. San Antonio FC take on El Paso Locomotive. Ball knocked over the top. Debut tonight for Jake LaCava in San Antonio colors. So Devin in Charleston didn't see a lot of time. 12 games, all competitions, only 10 in the league, and only 1 start. But LaCava's talent is beyond reproach.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of everything, right? He's got the speed to make you feel uncomfortable, pushing the tempo up high. Defensively, he's going to make you work. He has no problem whatsoever putting in that effort that Wilmer Cabrera is looking for. The problem is he's going to be matched up against Tavares and Miles Lyons on that side. When you invert him, getting the ball into the central locations, the ability to challenge one-on-one, this is what they're looking for out of Jake LaCava.
Rose. San Antonio leads the all-time series, 5 wins to 3 losses, a trio of draws. These past couple of years have offered some remarkable late game finishes between the two. It comes on a night where El Paso makes its most changes game to game all season, 6. San Antonio is down 9 players. That aforementioned international commitment and a continued string of injury woes.
You legitimately have a full starting 11 and small bench to be able to field between the two. Both managers without services of 14 players in total. More so on the attacking side for Wilmer Cabrera, with the loss of Joaquin Rivas on the outside flanks due to international duty with El Salvador. Armando Moreno as well, their leading goal scorer.
Moreno a brace in the win over Charleston, the top team in the league at the time, though Louisville have since passed them. The return of Carter Manley tonight, 7th start of the season in this SAFC's 13th game. Hawkinson returns, Manley, Alfaro. Despite all the injury woes, San Antonio is the 2nd leading scoring offense in the Western Conference. Manley, that'll find the bleachers.
It's going to be different tonight, though, because it's not just the injured player or the guys that are away with their national teams, Mike. There's a tactical switch as well by that man right there, Alan Marcina, at the helm since 2020, appointed in December of 2019. 2 Western Conference final appearances, 1 Western Conference title. Of course, that was in 2022 when he led San Antonio FC in the final game against Louisville. Won at 3-1, put a star above the crest. They're going to flatten the shape out, drop into this 4-4-2 of sorts, simplify things. He just doesn't have the horses or the depth to be able to play the way that he wants to.
Hawkinson won it back. He's among the central midfielders playing deeper than typical tonight due to that lack of depth. LaCava. Former Defender of the Year, Mitchell Tainter. McIntosh. Featuring with Pablo Cisniega down due to an upper body injury. El Paso led by Wilmer Cabrera, his third game at the helm, and he was very grateful to hear it, but the best way I can describe Wilmer, Devin, he's made every team he's been around better as his side corrals this at the back. And driven away by the league debutant Ramon Pascal. RGV, Houston, Montreal won the Canadian Championship with him as the caretaker. The reality is he's never really had a full deck of cards. He was at RGV right before they folded, Houston before they had a billionaire throwing money at the problem.
Yet always finds a way to get the best sum out of the parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting kind of addressing that with him on how the question arose, is this the most talented roster you've ever had? He didn't necessarily sidestep it. He was very grateful for certainly the assets that he had in front of him, but he was also quick to point out that he didn't necessarily choose them, right? So it's going to take some time because maybe the way that he would go about assembling a roster looks a little different than the pieces that he's been handed. It's not going to be success overnight, though. If you watch their first game, you wouldn't necessarily know it. While the performance wasn't exactly what he wanted, they did take down then #1 team in the USL Championship, Charleston Battery, unbeaten after 11 at that point in time.
Including this man, Jake LaCava. And it's overcooked for Cameron Lacey. In reality, for El Paso, the only player that Wilmer Cabrera had previously coached as a professional is Javier Garcia, who's the backup goalkeeper tonight, which in essence makes him the third choice. Also coached Elijah Martin with the U.S. Youth National Team at the under-17 residency in Bradenton. Reality is, there's going to be a lot of figuring out to be done. This is a concern for San Antonio on a number of levels. Carter Manley has been dealing with injuries. You just saw the motion from Mitchell Tainter walking away, suggesting that a sub is necessary. And the bench, you've got Jose Mulatto's on a pro deal, acquired on loan. But the rest of the bench is entirely made up of academy players tonight for San Antonio due to the combination of international call-ups and injuries. And then within that, Mbong and Vin Bickler are both limited tonight. So you knew you'd dip into that well at some point, but you didn't think it'd be in 7 minutes.
The only player on the San Antonio roster that has missed more games this season than Carter Manley is Lucho Solignac, former El Paso Locomotive great. The striker up top who's currently missed 10 games. Carter Manley's already been out for 5. Just made his way back. It was a stretch from April 13th till May 25th. That saw the defender out for Alan Marcina and co. And to your point, I'm looking down the roster of, okay, if they made this change, what could they do? My biggest concern here is it's not just taking Carter Manley off, it's how they would have to possibly shape change again. The problem is there's no video on any of the academy kids.
Yep.
There's no scouting reports. You scavenge the internet, and there's almost nothing there whatsoever to give you an idea of what this could look like, even if Adriel Giovanni Padilla does end up coming on, which it looks like he's going to 8 minutes in.
Mitchell Tainter, captain of the side, shares a few words with Gio Padilla. And here comes his professional debut with the first team. He has featured in the Open Cup, but not in the league. 18-year-old in his third season around the first team group. Has made the bench 8 times to impart to the league's new initiative that allows the home side to dress up to 2 players on academy contracts that don't count against the 18. Also the aforementioned injuries. Manley makes his way down the tunnel, and Padilla is about to take his star turn tonight.
I'd say that he is a center back by trade, Padilla. So that's pretty much the conversation of that entire back line that had shifted into a 4 anyway that was makeshift. He'll feel right at home with his brethren. This is where you wonder if you've really done your scout on the opposition, which Wilmer Cabrera is almost always spot on, of what the individual matchups would be, as if you now maybe lean into Eder Borelli and that left-hand flank a little bit more, go aggressive and go right at the youngster.
Ball brought down by LaCava, whose defensive responsibility is likely increased, and Navarez picks up the foul. Navarez comes out of the Juarez Academy. That's a sister club of El Paso Locomotive just over the border. Ball dropped in over the top, and Bong. Dealt with by Dolenmeyer.
Making himself go right at home. Adriel Padilla switch sides with Richard Winbickler. Knows what he's doing. Give him credit. A little surprised the referee doesn't pull a card in that situation. A little grace period for the debut of Padilla.
San Antonio, no unfamiliar foul committing side. It's kind of the fun part of watching them at the beginning of the year was that transition that you mentioned they were attempting to undergo. To be fair, who would have thunk that we'd hardly see Luis Solignac to this point? So Santiago Patino gets picked up off the squad to Vietnam, gets some potential life-changing money. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. If you're Alan Marcina, you allow him to leave, but you lost your top 2 goals threats.
Respectfully, attempting probably doesn't do him justice because they were able to execute, albeit for a short period of time. Now, they've had to deviate from the idea of being on the ball a little bit more, drawing the opposition out. You know, this is a team that's stylistically very direct in nature under Alan Marcina.
And Bong leads down the right side, options percolating, cross never arrived from Lacey. I mean, weren't they just the most divisive team in the league? You either believed in the efficiency concept, the high pressing concept, or you hated it. Is that a foul? It is. A dangerous position as well. It belongs to Akinyoti.
So the problem is within all of it was the optics, because people saw the aggressiveness, the fouls, the lack of intensity on the possessional side of things. They had no problem saying, you're going to give it to us 30, 35% of the game? We'll take it. We'll give you the ball because we know we can go beat you in the final third when we want. But if you looked at the underlying numbers, and we had a really good conversation with Alan Marcina about it, entries into the final third, execution inside the top of the 18, goals, conversion rate, still at the top of the league. There's a reason why one of the best defensive teams ever also had that counterbalance on the attacking side back in 2022.
Hernandez, that deflects past Lacey. Padilla falls to Pascal. Gio likes himself the long-range shot.
Gio Padilla, 3 minutes in. Already a foul at midfield and half an opportunity, if you will. But notice, again, we initially thought that he might slide in on the right side and just drop right in for Carter Manley. Even on the switch, most of the action has been over here. By happenstance or not, there is something to that. Miles Lyons, Navarez, even the way that you can pivot out of the midfield with Liam Rose, they're going to feel really comfortable in combination play. And it also makes Jake LaCava on the left-hand side drop back to help support just a little bit more defensively.
He was the only defender listed on the San Antonio bench tonight. Padilla knocks back Tainter. Tough slide into Hawkinson. That's clean. Dillon picked off, one back by Akinyoti. Driving, firing. McIntosh spews it aside. Lyons collects. Lyons end line, yanked it back. Akinyoti kept it alive. Alvarez, Rose. Calvillo can hit a ball as well as anybody in the league. Laid off, Akinyoti through Lyons. Lyons against Padilla, did get the cross away, swiped away, Dillon! Ball deflects down and now away from Hernandez. Still it's on, smashed away by Hernandez. Reclaimed, Akinyoti overtaken from behind, and San Antonio survive. For the moment, Dolenmeyer, Lyons. Navarez, shoved away by Mbong. Calvillo strides up to Vind Bickler. Akinyoti, great sustained moment for El Paso. Calvillo crossing, Navarez didn't get there. Still it's on for El Paso. Calvillo blocked. Rose. All angled across over Dillon, and thus ends maybe the most sustained attacking moment of the season for El Paso Locomotive. Tainter showing off the skills. Cava overtaken. Now he's down, slapping the ground, and Navarez plays it over the line.
First off, I would say that that's class by Francisco Navarez, who had an opportunity to progress this down the field quickly, recognizing that the debut of Jake LaCava has hit a bump in the road right in the midfield. Alan Marcina has to be sick to his stomach to see another player down in the middle of the pitch. Multiple efforts on one end. Olu Akinyoti, who has been very good for El Paso Locomotive in a variety of positions this season, trying to close down, and I don't know why the referee didn't blow a whistle here. It was in from behind, contact on the back end by Liam Rose. Certainly, same thoughts being shared by Alan Marcina and the refereeing crew.
You know how Mr. Potato Head has his angry eyes? When Alan Marcina's eyebrows dip, you know you're on the wrong end of it. Such the case for the fourth in that unenviable position. Out for El Paso tonight. Bura is out with Guinea-Bissau. Shannon Gomez with Trinidad. Kevin Lambert's away with Jamaica, and Machok Chol is away with South Sudan. That's really the impetus for all these issues. Navarez stymied away from the penalty area, and that's overcooked for Calvillo. Throw for San Antonio. Select is the official match ball supplier, the USL Championship and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit us.select-sport.com. The latest Select products, specials, and more. Select, the player's choice. Paso comes off a 3-1 loss at home to Birmingham. Very few teams have dictated terms at Southwest University Park over the years. This last year and a half, even at home, once a stalwart venue, disaster for El Paso. El Paso's new head coach, Wilmer Cabrera, looking for a feistier, stronger fighting team.
Almost cursed ever since the playoff performance against Oakland Roots in 2021.
True enough.
Right? A team that in 19 and 20 stormed out of the gate, straight into the Western Conference Final. Upset in 2021 against that man's RGV team. Pardon me, the Oakland Roots.
All denied.
And my brain is running in with ambition, no direction. But to your point, a squad that wins 38 games over 3 seasons, right? Including in that 2021 year where they didn't lose a single game, to all of a sudden you're winless through 7. I understand they're on the road tonight, but Wilmer Cabrera saying that it's energy, it's ambition, but you have to be stable at home. We've got to set a foundation here.
Ball bobbled and out over the line by Pascal. That did hit the post and get out first, apparently. Saved by the bell, 20 minutes in. The cross from Lacey. Dare we say, Dev, that Wilmer Cabrera will hope to make Southwest University Park the place where dreams go to die moving forward? The way it used to be for Wilmer at HEB Park down in Edinburgh with RGV.
Well, that title has certainly been removed from the former Western Conference Toros. They got a talented roster, though, a Paso Locomotive.
I mean, look, in terms of spend, no one can question that the Locomotive are going for it.
And let's be really clear, the way that I'm phrasing it, they have a talented roster. Pound for pound, individuals. But he also said that if you look at every player's resume, they've all been successful everywhere that they've went. And he's right? You've got conference winners, title winners, Player Shield winners. But how does that look as a collective? And unfortunately, we've been having that conversation about El Paso for much too long. 2.5 seasons now. John Hutchinson, Brian Clairhout, different ideas, different visions, and you've got a roster right now for El Paso that on a pickup pitch looks pretty incredible, but when you're trying to put together a 34-game season, that doesn't necessarily translate to results. And I had a really good conversation with Lucas Stauffer this week, and we talked about the difference between Wilmer Cabrera compared to everybody else that has come through that he's experienced. And he just talked about the ambition and the intensity, how the training sessions are different, the expectation by Wilmer Cabrera, how much work you're going to put in. And he feels like this group, it's already started to translate to results behind the scenes, and guys are more bought in.
As far as being pushed back, it is worth noting El Paso did make the playoffs last year, believe it or not, despite all these recent struggles. It began 9-3-2, a 7-game win streak, and a 10-game unbeaten streak coinciding with the middle of June. But since then, averaging less than 3/4 of a point per game. Over the last 11.5 months. Alvarez, Padilla. He's going to get a lot of cheers tonight for those actions from a crowd that's intent on supporting one of their own, a local San Antonio kid, 18 years old. It's worth noting there's a player that just turned 15 on the bench, Landry Walker, to play tonight too. Rose being told off by Agadello and being carded by Fierro.
Friendly reminder, this is going to go back to not just the challenge on Jorge Hernandez now, but the previous one on Jake LaCava in the midfield. He trying to get the attack going here with his compatriot in the midfield. Shape's going to be difficult tonight for San Antonio as you flatten things out. Hernandez and Hackinson side by side trying to find depth, and the way that Miles Lyons and Adair Borelli are starting to invert themselves and get involved in the attack within the midfield. It's an overload defensively that makes you scatter to then try and turn and find the stepping stones to go forward. Very difficult.
In over the top, Agadello. Ball brought in by Pascal. His league debut to the rescue against the player who featured 28 times for the Stars and Stripes.
And yet you always have the ability from Jorge Hernandez, 2023 golden playmaker, the man who supplies and dishes out the most assists in the USL Championship. Rumor is that there's another playmaker on the move. Might be able to talk about around halftime. Movement in the Western Conference.
Is that news just in? Is it even announced yet? Applause there. By the way, Liam Rose just got his 8th yellow card. I'm not quite sure why he's not listed in the injury report. My ignorance precedes me. As a potential suspendee for the next match, but the only player in the league on caution accumulation is actually his teammate, Tony Alfaro. Ball brought down and whisked outside by Mbong. Lacey blasted off of Eder Borelli. Goal for San Antonio. Side that so good at home and yet play their next 3 on the road. Borelli making his season debut tonight. Now lobbed over him and out over the line. If you followed Eder Borelli over recent years, him wearing the armband tonight is not overtly surprising. But for a guy who's been available to play and yet hasn't featured all season under a new manager in his 3rd game, felt like a little bit of a statement, didn't it?
The captain's armband, you're going to lead us. It makes you wonder where the locker room is. I'll tell you that much. But also gives you an idea of the importance of what he brings to the dressing room. He's got a mentality of a winner. There's no question about that. One of the men who took strides every single season. Mark Lowry brought him in. He's good on the ball. He's got good speed. Usually makes very sound decisions.
Also go kindly to McIntosh, 33-year-old defender from Monterrey. Grew up in Argentina. His dad, Jorge, played for the Argentine national team, but also for Tigres, and that's where ultimately Eder's career began, though he spent much of that time on loan at Juarez. Flicked on by Navarez. Did Mitchell Tainer just clear the grandstand? By the way, him going over to Gio Padilla, I don't know what exact words he used, but is there anyone in the league you'd rather have in your ear when you're about to come in, play your most substantial minutes, your young career? Cava nearly snuck that outside. Alas, short of Agadello. By the way, Liam Rose, 5 games without a yellow. So while he has 7, he got the good behavior incentive. Good for him. That is why he is not on the discipline report. He's being up for suspension with the yellow he accumulated today. Don't you wish we got those kind of incentives for good behavior?
Well,
away from Agadello.
I figure I'm going to lose however I answer this question.
That's true.
It's going to go south for me either way, so let's let it rip. No, I don't. I figured at this point in time I compiled enough of them throughout my career that I just constantly try and stay on good behavior. Never know when you're going to need that get-out-of-jail-free card.
Painter sent it away, and Agudelo got knocked down pursuing. It'll be a free kick in much better real estate, but at the cost of Agudelo. It is worth noting San Antonio has played in 20 consecutive games with 4 or more cards issued, and they've received a red in each of the last 3. El Paso has 4 or more cards in each of their last 13 road matches. Which is to say, there is no more good behavior. Alfaro just got himself suspended for the next game. He just got his 8th yellow of the year for that push in the middle of all that ongoing talk. So now Alfaro and Rose, both center of your screen, 8 cards on the season for the side that leads the league in yellows accumulated.
One of the moments, right, that there's certainly some sort of contact there. How much remains to be seen, but the referees let it slide. He's given you the opportunity to get away from the initial infraction. These are the moments right now that if you're Wilmer Cabrera and you're looking at the guys on the pitch, you have to remain mentally sound. Gotta find a way to remove that emotion and instead utilize it. Utilize it to the best of your ability to go and challenge these matches instead of getting yourself in trouble and putting your team in harm's way again.
Hernandez lost his footing. Into space, Navarez is by his lonesome. Support now from Moshaban. Pulls back. Square for Akinyoti. Lions. Lacrosse dealt with admirably by Burks. Give and go broke down. Dylan able to recover. Bit of time in Seattle for Dylan, but really made his bones in Tacoma. Then 3 years at San Antonio. One of the big ticket acquisitions for El Paso over the offseason. Central from Lions, Akinyoti sets the tempo. Navarez, Cava entered into the fray. Early cross was denied. Rose, now Akinyoti. Agudelo shot down by Eric Calvillo.
Was the work rate by Agudelo to come underneath and help out defensively, but Calvillo just a little bit late. Well done by the striker up top. This is one where you know the contact's coming and you're willing to put your body in harm's way anyway. Poor touch by Eric Calvillo. And much like what San Antonio FC is dealing with in terms of short bench and positionally challenging players, guys out of position, trying just mixing and matching to find a way to get through a game. El Paso Locomotive is dealing with some of the same. Now, a lot of these guys now are back where they belong. But you take a Bolu Akinyoti, who is certainly versatile in his ways, but bouncing back and forth within the midfield and the center back position. They've had Toomey up top in the 9, flattened out with a 2-striker system. They played him on the wing. Eric Calvillo, outside midfielder, 6, 8, 10. And within those inconsistencies, the performances have followed. You're looking for a regularity within selection right now from your manager to try and gain some momentum for this team.
As far as Karam centrally, Akinyoti Rose. McIntosh. Perspire. If you can't watch the match, you can turn on SiriusXM FC 157. That's North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk, including USL All Access Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, plus your live matches, including this one from the USL, MLS, Premier League, and more. All on SiriusXM FC 157 and the new SiriusXM app. This past week on USL All Access, Mitch Tainter, former Defender of the Year, San Antonio captain, joined the fray for a quick 15-minute fireside chat.
It was great. Always enjoy our time with Mitch Tainter. For everybody at home, you always shorten the name. Never go with Mitchell. You'll get yourself into trouble, or his wife or mother will do it for you. Really enjoyed, the idea of trying to find the inner mentality monster, if you will, of all of these guys that are just making their way into Defend 210. The mantra that was put forth by this team a couple of seasons back in their title-winning year of 2022.
His fourth season here after time in Sacramento. Success has followed him pretty much everywhere he's been since matriculating from Rutgers. His grandfather, the famed former head coach at UConn as well, national champion head coach. He's going to be under siege tonight, it appears. Rose will take that space. Veal.
Tackle.
Finally overtaken by Hawkinson. To Agudelo by his lonesome. 1v2. All bouncing awkwardly. Accumulated atop the 18, through for Lions. Cutback ball all the way over the spot, ball got knocked away. Hernandez comes streaming away with it. Up to Agudelo, who squares and keeps for San Antonio, although that deflected off Calvillo. Chabon, ball knocked away by Lacey, still it's El Paso. Ball through, flag is up.
What they're dealing with right now, Mike, San Antonio, is really good advancement by El Paso Locomotive. I talk about the inversion of outside back. It just becomes a numbers game where defensively they're pinned really deep. And with all the rotation that's coming from El Paso, it's difficult once they win these 50-50 battles to then find a way to catch a stepping stone to go the other direction. So immediately one long balls up over the top, 2v1, 3v2s for San Antonio, and El Paso happy to pick up possession and come the other way.
Akinyote sprays forward. Padilla struggled to deal with it. Navarez caught the corner. Navarez knocked down by McIntosh and cleared. Prodded forward and held by Agudelo, although Lacey loses the handle. A wild moment ends with Rose in control. Now Akinyote. So often San Antonio conceded possession, but not quite like this. Really under it. Navarez attempt to chip that through. Help coming from Tainter. Agudelo comes back, siphons the ball off. Good give and go with LaCava. And now through for LaCava. LaCava for a bong! Lacey picks it up on the other side. Borelli got a piece. That's as enlightened a chance as we've seen yet. Vin Bickler, LaCava.
That's a pretty beautiful ball from the former Battery boy. Al Marcina saying that, yeah, we get injuries. We understand that. We're a little bit short in the roster, but we're going to do whatever it takes to find a way to get points. We'll go out and get one of the more exciting players. Who knew? Was available on the transfer market, Jake LaCava. It's great vision to the back post, the touch that he has on this, and this is where, when you haven't played a ton of games together, the timing's just off a little bit, Mike. Jake LaCava, Hugo Mbong, and Juan and Agudelo up top. The three of them trying to find some sort of rhythm. So Jake LaCava has started to ease himself nicely into this game just defensively. They are so deep, having trouble playing out of the back. You got to find a way to find an extra leg in terms of support.
Brilliant ball. If it had had just a little less juice, Pascal collects. Thumbs up from Mbong.
What I mean by that is it's got to be more work rate off the ball. So you're seeing Juan Agudelo come deeper in. Whether it's tackles or possession, Hugo Mbong has to do one of two things. He's got to stretch the back line on these balls coming out, try and go win some of these physical battles, or come a little bit deeper and play off them as well. I like the former because he keeps pressure up high. You make the back line stay honest, and it gives you more space to play through as well.
Does the lack of a more traditional midfield tonight, just based on players out of position, sort of change the way in which San Antonio approaches that, though?
It's not necessarily the players out of position. Luke Hackinson, although certainly Alan Marcina would prefer to use him on the outside. He's played 5 games this year in central midfield. He's not unaccustomed to what's being asked of him.
Fares was able to poke it into the penalty area. Chabon, ball knocked away by Burks, but it had already cleared the line. Goal kick.
It's more so just a little bit of everything. A recipe for disaster, if you will. They're just hoping that they don't come out on the wrong side of that storm, because you've changed the shape, you've changed personnel. Understand that they primarily operate in a 3-back system that's very aggressive. When you have the ball, it allows a lot more freedom within that shape at every position. You don't have that tonight. So the discipline has to be more constant. And that's easier said than done when you're chasing around defensively all over the pitch with what El Paso Locomotive and that man right there, Wilma Cabrera, throwing at you.
Al Marcina expected curveballs. He also admitted he has zero sympathy for the lack of Amando Moreno tonight for El Paso, where after all, his projected leading scorers played but 10 minutes this year. Driven away by Pascal, who made his club debut in the Open Cup against Omaha. That was, for the second time, an Omaha Cup set over El Paso. So it's gone against Rose.
Smart ball.
Brilliant ball. Agudelo flicks this toward Houston.
Well, we talked about him coming in. Jorge Hernandez, 33 chances created, second in USL Championship this season. Watch how smart. To the ground, head up, no problem. What a touch pass there from Jorge Hernandez. Such a deep lying ball that has to be absolutely perfect. Checks up nice. Timing just a little off for Agudelo. Rushed it.
Agudelo, who really came to fame in his time right at New England, also spent time at Chivas USA. Navarez will hang on over the screams of the San Antonio fans. Dylan. Halftime approaches, big transfer to be announced officially tomorrow, but we can tell you about it tonight. Shake-up from an Eastern Conference team struggling to one of the Open Cup quarterfinalists. Desperate need of some attacking help. We'll tell you about that at halftime. So let's get you caught up on upcoming games around the USL on CBS slate. We got highlights and stats coming your way as well.
How many guesses do you think it would take the average fan to get it right? 43?
Marcina is working his way toward Ricardo Fierro's book if he continues. And even Marcina, the Canadian, probably knows the term ball don't lie. 4 added minutes, largely due to the injuries suffered by Carter Manley. He was the lone sub of the half. Gio Padilla's responded quite well as you could hope.
He's done very well. I would say that they've shifted themselves a little bit. Mitchell Tainer doing a really good job of kind of shielding that back shoulder of his, coming over, giving more support. It puts more pressure on Winbickler and Burks on the back line, but they can cover the ground. They got fresh legs. And finally, over the last 5 to 7 minutes, though not frequent enough for Alan Marcina, they have gotten Jake LaCava a little bit higher.
Off of LaCava.
The biggest thing coming into the night was trying to find a way with the 11 that he thought he was going to have to defensively keep El Paso Locomotive narrow. They didn't want them to have the ability to play on the outside. Well, that's exactly what's going on in the first half. It's gotten better, but Navarez certainly on the right. A little bit of Calvillo on the left, but Lyons and Navarez on the right, and Liam Rose and Academy have done a really good job of really attacking this near side of the touchline. Still lacking the quality, though. 25 yards and in. Look at the metrics for El Paso Locomotive in the matchup against San Antonio. More shots, better shooting accuracy, but their low percentage. You know, they're getting opportunities, Mike, from 20, 25 yards out, and their conversion rate is 5th lowest in the USL Championship. So you're trying to find a way, extra 5 or 7 yards in some of these movements. Get a little bit closer, give your team an opportunity to go and challenge the goalkeeper.
Paso have gotten into the final third with regularity tonight. San Antonio has scrambled in the right moments. Kept the 0 to this point. Kept in. Diaz stabs it ahead. LaCava, now Mbong. Slides outside Hernandez. Agadello trying to play the back shoulder. Hernandez is down behind the play. He was the one who played that ball to Agadello. Shocked Lions gets away with that.
There have been a couple of decisions here in the first half. Most notably, right in front of the technical areas that the referee has let play on. Three goals and 10 assists in 28 appearances during the 2023 season for San Antonio.
By the way, Hernandez, born in Mexico, came to the U.S. at 5 years old, grew up in California.
quite shocking, by the way. I had to do a double take when I was going over the board looking at some of the numbers, Mike. Can you believe this is his 8th year professional? Only 23 years of age.
Hernandez toward Bong. Dolenmeyer quells the threat. Hernandez started at 16 years young at Galaxy 2. Spent 5 years there, ended up in Ukraine and Belgium before coming back to the league in San Antonio. Alan Marcina flaunted. Few coaches thought he was a good fit. Turns out he's been as enviable as anybody in the league creating chances. There he is again. Smashed away from Hernandez. Halftime arrives. Duly scoreless.
Alan Marcina is going to be happy that they got into half, try and find a way to regroup his troops. They've got to have a game plan to find a way to close down the space between the midfield two of Hackins and Hernandez and getting up to that front line to give themselves an attacking threat. Wilma Cabrera, El Paso Locomotive, 75% of the way down their field. They look great. Too many times this attack is stopping and they're going horizontal or backwards. They got to be more decisive 30 yards and in.
Halftime in San Antonio. Copa Tejas off to its regular fiery start. The new manager trying to inject some enthusiasm. The frustration boils. San Antonio and El Paso, scoreless at the half on CBS Sports. Back in scenic San Antonio, SAFC could move third in the league tonight with a win. Taking on bottom of the table El Paso, have more than held their own tonight in this Copa Tejas match.
Welcome back in, everybody. Joined by Devin Kerr, Mike Watts, and we got what we thought. A little bit of physicality, everything but the goal so far.
Everything but the goals. That's what the people want, though. Give the people what they want. Give Wilmer Cabrera and Alan Marcina what they want. You can tell that both teams are shorthanded and they're struggling a little bit. There was a lot of good in that first half, so let's take you through some of it. I want to start here with some of the pressure that you got from both of these teams, because the tackles started to fly about the 10-minute mark. As the emotion came up, well, so did the physicality. That's definitely a foul. There's no question about that. About 4 opportunities in the first half that the referee could have blown the whistle, didn't. Bolu Akinyori on the recovery tackle, beautiful. Just as he did a couple of weeks back, Boston in the midfield, allowing this El Paso Locomotive team to progress up higher on the pitch. But there's going to be a theme. That strike from Calvillo, 22 yards out. This cross from Miles Lyons, hit with a hope and a prayer. Again, this El Paso Locomotive team doesn't lack for chances when they start to break the opposition down. They're just not high quality. So it's tackles, it's transitional movements, it's everything that Wilmer Cabrera wants except that final ball, which should be 15 yards and in.
Take a look at the first half stats. El Paso has the better of it, possession and opportunity, and yet we're scoreless here at halftime between San Antonio and El Paso. Got plenty more coming up, including the major transfer news to be announced from the day in the championship. Sacramento could use a little help, couldn't they? We'll walk you through it. San Antonio and El Paso, 0-0 at the half on CDS Sports. Now this is the action that you expect with San Antonio and El Paso. A little bit of physicality. I've been told multiple red cards have already been handed out. San Antonio and El Paso, scoreless at the half as we welcome you back into our booth, everybody. And joined by our USL insider, Devin Kerr, Mike Watts on hand as well. Now, the precursor for Sacramento jumping into the trade market this week. 2 weeks ago, Rodrigo Lopez torn ACL in the cup set win over San Jose. And then 2.5 weeks ago, the injury to Russell Cicerone that'll keep him out 2 to 3 months. So, Dev, they had to make a change, make a trade. They did.
Did a pretty big one as well. Some noise that's going to reverberate around the USL Championship. Sacramento Republic have signed Justin Portillo. The 10-year veteran in the USL Championship will join his 5th team. I love it. This is a guy who is 13th all-time in terms of regular season appearances. He gives you everything that you need. Balance in the midfield, vision. Now, he's not going to carry the same overall profile as Lopez, the freedom to go and chase the game, but he is going to give you the ability to have regular looks moving into the final third. They're going to need that, especially once they get Russell Cicerone back.
And while Cicerone will be on the verge of returning for this game, July 21st, you'll certainly see Portillo and the Republic take on Oakland live on CBS. Newly announced 4 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff in the town. Meanwhile, start of August, change of locale, Detroit City, and the Keyworth Stadium will host expansion side Rhode Island. The Sports Business Journal boasted this week the USL continues pushing national and local coverage to drive awareness. That'll be on network television. Meanwhile, plenty of action coming up on CBS Sports Network along with our partners at ESPN this coming summer. You'll see Pittsburgh and Louisville, a great playoff rematch of many, many years. Wednesday, June 19th. We'll close out the month of June with a matchup between the aforementioned Detroit City and Birmingham Legion before moving into July, and a very busy schedule then. San Antonio and El Paso get the spotlight on this Wednesday night. The lone game in the championship seeks its first goal and a winner. Second half coming up.
to strike up the band again here in San Antonio. Scoreless on CBS Sports Network. El Paso and San Antonio looking for the breakthrough as we set second half play. 9 total shots. El Paso in control of the possession. And more chances. Ultimately, nothing to show for it as we approach the start of the second 45. Agudelo capped for the U.S. 28 times, including at the 2017 Gold Cup. Trying to help Alan Marcina's side spark an attack that's second in scoring in the Western Conference. Meanwhile, Tumi Moshibani and El Paso Locomotive, only 10 practices under their new manager, Wilmer Cabrera, but a 10-day layoff upcoming. Changes afoot in El Paso. They could get their second win in 3 games. Do so against 2 playoff teams and inch within 5 points of the playoff line. Onward into the second half on this starry San Antonio night. You know, Dev, it'd be really easy to look at a team, and rightfully so to an extent. 2 wins, 9 losses, 2 draws, and go, well, most of the hay is already out of the barn for the year.
Yeah.
Alas, this El Paso team has so much talent in it. Only 8 points off the line. 8 of the 12 teams in the West make the playoffs. If they can get a couple of wins strung together here, all of a sudden they're going to feel like they're right in the mix on this thing.
They need an identity is what they need. You know, the one thing that you can say about the El Paso Locomotive teams under Mark Lowry for the 3 years of 19 to 21 is that team had control almost over every single game that they were playing in. Right? I understand that a lot of that had to do with ball possession, but they just knew how to control a game. They knew how to manage it, and this El Paso team is trying to figure out exactly what they are. Wilmer Cabrera is going to give them a blueprint.
Yep.
Energy, emotion, all that kind of stuff, but you know, the ability to go chase a game. I liked what I saw in the opening 45 minutes. It's probably the most intensity we've seen out of that team in an extended period of time all season long.
And the reality for El Paso under Brian Clairhout, it started really, really well. Had that great run from May into June.
Unbeaten him at one point in time.
7
right?
straight wins, and you think, okay, they got the Lowry magic back, and just fell apart. It really did. He'll find his way again. He came over from Sweden at Sundsvall. That side got relegated, but to be fair, didn't seem to have a lot of help there. Look over a team that was already angled in that direction. Wasn't able to save them. Calvillo. Slip ball ahead. Turned back by Dylan. Moshibun hangs it up. Smashed away Rose. Navarez. Navarez! Needed just one guiding touch. It got by McIntosh, but it slipped by both Dylan and Calvillo in the end as well.
Much better from El Paso. When I talked about their execution in the final third, they need to be better on that last pass. Great ball movement, but even though they're not able to get something off the clearance of Kendall Burks, recycling it back to the outside. This is about a conversion rate and efficiency of chance, getting closer to goal, even on a second effort coming back fourth. Well done by Navarez to be able to get something off.
Ironically, Wilmer Cabrera, best known for his time in the league with RGV, side that folded at the offseason. The 2 players that I love Transfer Market calls it feared by club, scored the most goals against Rio Grande Valley. Luis Solignac, who's unavailable tonight for San Antonio, 6. And a 4-way tie that included 5 for Justin Dillon, his new striker. Meanwhile, Akinyoti asked for play to stop, and he was gripping at his right forearm wrist. And he's being looked at now.
How's the RGV connection for you, by the way? Bolo Akinyoti, Seton Hall Pirate, 2011 to 2014.
Jerson
Echeverry, absolutely. Former RGV frontman that took over for the Toros a couple of seasons back, then coming back being an assistant under Wilmer Cabrera. The biggest, smallest world is the footballing landscape.
You and I looked at each other. It's wild, right? Because Academy came through the Red Bull Academy. He saw an online ad to try out for the Red Bull Academy. This is 21 years ago, so I imagine that was, what, 8-bit?
You're giving it a little bit more credit there than it should get.
Dial up. Point being,
Bingo.
now the age of 30, it was John Walnick who saw him through that trial period, helped him through the academy as he races back onto the field. Akinyoti's had quite a championship career, hasn't he? Including time in Nashville, at Birmingham most recently. At a point was part of the under-20s for the U.S. And at this stage appears poised to play the rest of this game with his hand wrapped.
I loved him for that Nashville team. Great utilization.
So true.
By then manager Gary Smith, and mostly deployed within the midfield. Anthony Pulis, of course, had him at Miami for a couple of seasons.
Yeah,
Amson, you talked about.
Seeing him at center back was a little bit of an out-of-body experience, though.
You know what? It's certainly not my preference, though. A couple of games back went 8 for 8 in tackles, 14 for 14 on duels. Most tackles by an individual in USL Championship in 3 years without missing one.
Wow. Is that going to hang up for Agudelo? You bet it did. Lacey's available. Lacey! First touch got away, and it's going to dribble calmly back. Meanwhile, injured player down for El Paso behind the play. I believe that's Alfaro.
He just pulls up on the back end of this like he felt it go. What a ball. Great little touch here. Look at this thing stick up in the ground, and absolutely, Tony Alfaro. Agudelo can't believe it. That he's got that much greenery to step into.
If that's what it looks like, he's suspended for the next game regardless due to yellow card accumulation, but that would have likely kept him out regardless.
Well, this is a move, by the way, by Alan Marcy to try and find a way to get more chemistry running through Route 1. Jose Mulatto should step underneath Jorge Hernandez for sure, possibly Hackinson. So for me, what it would be is side by side, Mulatto and Hackinson lock it down. This gets Hernandez into a more advanced position. He's going to be more comfortable. Can come off the shoulder of Juan Agudelo and bridge the gap between the midfield and front line. That's what my initial thought would be here.
Well, he's the only professional contracted player available to San Antonio off their bench tonight due to the 9 players out with injury and international duty. Alfaro being helped off. This has been quite the physical game, San Antonio and El Paso. We mentioned the numbers coming in, but cards galore, not only when these teams meet, but just when they touch the field. And in each of these instances, not even all of them fouls, believe it or not. The physicality peeking through, two sides that recognize the desperation of the moment.
Well, the one thing that I would add on to the substitute by Alan Marcina and Jose Mulatto is he's coming from an FC Dallas organization under the tutelage of Nico Estevez. They want the ball. He was so accustomed to playing with the ball at his feet, shape-shifting opposition, making them feel uncomfortable. Plays right into the wheelhouse of what Alan Marcina is trying to do with his team, albeit shorthanded at this point in time.
Double sub for El Paso, their first 2 of the game. So Craig is like for like, Alfaro going down, but they've brought off Borelli as well and brought on Nick Hines in his stead. Hines has started 3 games, played in 12 to this point. Craig has started 7. This is his 9th appearance of the season. Craig was actually part of the 2022 CONCACAF Under-20 title-winning team for the U.S. Now, still just 20 out of Philly, getting his chance to play tonight. Worth noting that the sub made to bring Mulatto on from Bong, that's the second change in second window utilized by San Antonio because Manley went down inside 10 minutes. So the options on the bench are Walker, Fernandez, and Garza, all 18 years or younger, although Fernandez can drive on his own and buy a lottery ticket. Garza can drive on his own. Walker, 15 years old, he can walk. Got to ride.
Well, you're playing Noah Dolemeyer out of position here as well, at least in terms of what he's familiar with for El Paso. Deloney from LAFC2 last year, drafted 87th overall in the 2023 MLS Super Draft. Primarily an MLS Next Pro, decided to keep him. And Brendan Craig shifts it over to the more comfortable right side of that back two. It really cemented himself within the starting lineup before the opening match. I'd say about 15 minutes into the Louisville game. Made his way back versus Colorado Springs, but it's been touch and go since then.
Little juggle. Out to Hines, his first interaction with the ball. Toomey on the move. Calvillo returns. Standing tackle by Vin Bickler. Out to touch. Take a look at the upcoming schedule around the USL Championship and League One on national TV. Forward Madison and South Georgia Tormenta get it started on ESPN2 for a busy year. League One action on national TV. Golazo Network will have Monterey Bay and Sacramento coming up on Saturday night. We'll be right here again on CBS Sports Network Wednesday, June 19th, 2 weeks from tonight. The Hounds and Louisville City.
I'm here for that Monterey Bay Sac game this weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Monterey Bay, you said it best on All Access Tuesday night. You're a little bit surprised that with their run of form, which hasn't been that great, still right there in third position.
Really banged up, and yet
absolutely,
they just went 6 winless and held third place.
Got a win on the weekend
against top-ranked New Mexico. The #1 team in the West has a negative goal difference. It's one of the weirdest amalgamations I've ever seen this far into a season. Brandon Craig just picked up a yellow card a mere 2 or 3 minutes into the game. That is 3 yellows to El Paso, none to San Antonio. We're nearing that magic 4 number, keeping the streaks alive.
No lip reader, but I'm not exactly sure he's inviting him to Thanksgiving dinner.
Maybe using his dad's Old English. Agadello. Cameron Lacey. Lacey swerves, got it by Hines, but not by Dolenmeyer. Corner San Antonio, and that's been a rarity tonight. This is the first corner kick of the game. And there's no one you'd rather have taking it. Hernandez, ball bouncing off a defender. It appeared to hit Craig. Kindly to Pascal.
He can whip him in, can he? Jorge Hernandez. A little bit surprised there's not a single touch on it. A lot of times they'll try and run a stunt to the back post to free up Mitch Tainer, redirect back across and run a second body in.
It's about this time, the last meeting, it was July 12th. Rita Zuhir bagged a 5-minute brace, beat El Paso last season, a 2-2 draw this same week of June last year here in San Antonio, the Solignac 78th minute equalizer. in a 2-2 draw. And then the early days of this rivalry was marked by the very late game winners.
Well, I'll tell you what was very surprising to me in this Copa Tejas matchup between San Antonio and El Paso. 11 matches overall between the two. The home team has only won 3 games.
Nuts, right?
It's been the road team that has had the better run of form. The home team is 3-5-3. Go on the road, find a way to get results. That's certainly been the mantra of El Paso Locomotive in 2024, though they don't have a ton of wins to their name. The only 2 did come by way of Buster Train, only one of which has been at the helm with Wilmer Cabrera 2 weeks back. Took down the Charleston Battery. Fortune not the same the following week as Birmingham Legion. Bent the knee.
Although it is pretty funny hearing Wilmer Cabrera openly admit, look, Chris Allen got sent off with 2 yellows right before halftime. That didn't hurt. That was the first loss Charleston had suffered all year. It came on the heels of the Open Cup as well.
Well, I go a step further to say that not only did he get set off, but that the Charleston Battery was still the better team.
Yep.
Throttled until he was sent off, and then still the aggressor.
El Paso awaits the opportunity to make their second substitution. Their 3rd player in as Ricardo Zacharias has moved over toward the 4th official. That change comes now. Francisco Navarre has had some real bright moments tonight.
You're going to get Zacharias to be a little bit higher, though. I would say that the one thing that this team has struggled with is to find a balance within their attacks. And so, if Calvillo's come on the left-hand side, can you try and find a way to switch around the other way and then consistently stretch both sides of this field? That's where you're going to get San Antonio. That's where they have had their success and unfortunately have been able to replicate it. Zacharias gives you that ability.
They've immediately worked on that right-hand side. Burks muscles in. Rose, now Akinyoti. Dolenmeyer. Calvillo. El Paso 8 points out of the playoff field in the West. Win tonight would raise a lot of eyebrows. This is a San Antonio team that hardly ever loses on home ground. Dia helps to knock it out, thrown in Tainter's direction. USL Championship is on CBS Sports and ESPN platforms all season long. You can catch live matches, expert analysis every day on the CBS Sports Golazo Network and ESPN Plus. Go to USLChampionship.com for the complete USL TV listings. Dillon flicks this forward. Hines arrives, a little space. Busted up by Vin Bickler. That is a tough foul. The yellow card for dissent is incoming. Tainter earned that one.
Yeah, I actually think that it came from the contact just prior. At least that's the angle that we're privy to. The second one looked to be all ball for sure, and that's probably what San Antonio's frustrated about. Watch this first touch when he comes over the backside right there. Looked like he caught the back left foot of Cameron Lacey. Nick Hines came back through. I don't think when Bickler got him on the first one, it's the second one that looked like the contact occurred.
I didn't know Tainter could jump that high. I really didn't.
Again, heated battle. Your judgment can be clouded by what's right in front of you. Again, I'm not saying that I'm disagreeing with his frustration. I'm saying that he's probably focused on just what happened on that last movement. And I do believe there was an infraction, just prior.
Agadello's trying to make sure that Kendall McIntosh has exactly what he's looking for. These are marksmen over the ball. Craig! Brandon Craig stores a stunner! El Paso lead on the road! What a brilliant goal from Brandon Craig!
I didn't want to step in the way here. There was too much respect given by Kendall McIntosh. Go back to the foul. Right there is where the foul is, absolutely. Lacey on the left foot. Craig with the right. You're welcome. Self-proclaimed set-piece specialist. Just inches to be able to squeak this thing through into the near post. Again, Kendall McIntosh giving way too much ground. Conceded onto the near post. Not a big enough wall. A little bit of daylight and the lead for Locomotive.
What a moment for Brandon Craig. Appeared to bang off the top of the wall between Agadello and Van Bickler. And suddenly, El Paso, who to be fair have dropped 10 points when scoring first this year, lead in San Antonio. And SAFC have conceded first for just the third time. I mean, Dev, you brought up the numbers before the game. San Antonio losing at home. You made the same argument about Indy going to Pittsburgh this past weekend and winning. It doesn't happen.
No, you can't do it. You can't go on the road. 99 home matches for Pittsburgh Riverhounds. They've only lost 13 times. Indy 11 able to do it. Into the Lions' den for El Paso Locomotive. Just 5 losses for San Antonio since Alan Marcina took over in 2020 on their home ground of Toyota Field.
Hernandez, Agadello, Lacey. Lacey was trying to pick out that back post. El Paso got a win very late under Brian Clairhout at Loudon. Dropped their following game. That ended up being his end. In comes Cabrera, a win at Charleston. Then the loss to Birmingham at home over the weekend. Now Wilmer Cabrera is trying to stun San Antonio at Toyota Field. Akinyoti lost his footing. Hernandez leads the charge. Striding back in, Hernandez! Hernandez deflects and gets by the post and out. He pumped the brakes so hard, all of El Paso got derailed.
What a check this is by Jorge Hernandez, an effort. Gets away with one in the midfield, but look at his head the entirety of the time, scanning left and right, trying to find support, a way to break through. Perfect lockdown by Locomotive, but didn't account for the individual greatness of Jorge Hernandez.
Second corner for San Antonio, punching it away, Pascal. And he took the punishment. Wins the foul.
I told you that they were trying to find a way to stretch this game. Why not Jorge Hernandez after the change with Mulatto into the midfield? Much better balance. The energy level has come up. But so has the ability for this game to start to go end to end a bit more frequently. You know, Mike, you made an interesting comment a couple of minutes back, and I'm going to combine it with something that I said earlier. El Paso Locomotive, you said dropping points, right? Was it 10 already this season?
When they score first.
When they score first, they've dropped 10 points. I'll take it a step further. You combine it with the identity. This team under Brian Clairhout dropped 29 points from winning positions since the start of 2023. That's the most of any club. You want to talk about setting an identity within your group, going on the road in one of the best home field advantages in the USL Championship. You go up a goal, 20 minutes to go and see this thing out. Character, there's your identity right there.
Long way to go to try and prove that that's ready to take the next step. That's what Wilmer Cabrera practically begged for when we chatted with him this week. Whistle's gone here. Brandon Craig entered the game less than 10 minutes ago. The goal for El Paso. San Antonio with 20 minutes to try and reclaim points tonight. Lacey will muscle his way back in. The overlap from Vin Bickler, but Lacey will continue. Inside Vin Bickler, he fell down of his own volition. Up top, Hernandez. Slide sees Hines run over by Lacey. And the offside flag is what is the undoing of San Antonio.
This is a fun battle. Cameron Lacey and Nick Hines back and forth between each other. Tons of speed between the two, and the understanding of the players around them. Really fun to watch these boys go back and forth. Kind of funny how that works. The goal ignites the fire for both of these teams to come out of their shells a little bit more. Control for Jorge Hernandez within the midfield, starting to take over and allow this San Antonio team to have more confidence going forward.
Flick on by Dylan. Sumi Moshabon slides by Tainter. Outside Calvillo. Chips this up. Header down. McIntosh maintains. Dylan was by his lonesome. And McIntosh sends this flying toward Agudelo. Off the high hop. Agudelo won't give in. Agudelo trying to streak through. Now Dullenmeyer's got him. Away from Hernandez, Rose. The overtake from Zacharias. Painter's had a couple of those tonight. And plays it in over the top. Agudelo's offside.
If Agudelo could figure out his timing, this would be a little bit more appropriate for San Antonio moving forward with some of the balls coming off the back line.
So close.
Not as close as you think, bud. There's daylight in between you and the back line in that one. Good movement by El Paso Locomotive on the previous sequence, though.
Last 2 years with Tommy Sohn in Birmingham, 23 goal contributions over the 2 seasons. 12 goals, 11 dimes.
Is that what the kids call it these days?
You can see Agudelo's engaged. You can definitely feel that.
So you can feel it from Agudelo. You can see it from Hernandez, who's the third musketeer now.
Hernandez off the post. That somehow snuck by Pascal. Bangs off the woodwork. Vin Bickler with a deflection. Pascal proudly claims. Oh man, that was almost a solo mission. No other musketeers needed.
How good is this from the 23-year-old? Just beautiful vision. Taking advantage of the ball that squeaks through here, doesn't matter. Notice again, though, his eyes always so active. Looks over the right shoulder. Mulatto isn't high enough. He can't get it there. Just trying to pick out that bottom corner with as much pace as possible.
Vin Bickler. Everything this game lacked in the opening 65 minutes has shown up now. Ball kicked away by Calvillo, who knows exactly what he's doing. Couple of corners for San Antonio. They've made Ramon Pascal squeal a bit. Now a set piece much further up the line. Jorge Hernandez, one of the best ball striking players in the league, an all-league pick during his time at Galaxy 2 before a stint overseas, eventually coming back to San Antonio. Hangs this up, Tainter knocks it down, Pascal, a bit of friendly fire from Zacharias. Pascal can feel it.
He's done well for himself, Pascal. He's had a lot to deal with tonight, been hung out to dry a couple of times by the transitional moments, but very talented. The man from Mexico City came through Toluca, then to the Pumas reserves, made his way to Juarez last year, was actually starting the goalkeeper during Leagues Cup for them, albeit gave up quite a few goals, and certainly would like to forget the 7-1 drubbing against LAFC. But he is a quality shot stopper. Give him an opportunity and he'll go make the saves for you. Just needs a little bit of help defensively. The back line scattered. Great goal by Brandon Craig, but he's got to tighten up that back four. Too adventurous right now.
Hernandez off the mark, going behind the back. Moshabon that knockdown. Vin Bickler got fouled by Hines. By the way, Tainter getting the yellow for an exaggerated response to the referee was the fourth. Hernandez played this quick. But El Paso's dealt with it. There's the foul. eFootball 2024 is here. Hernandez watches this launched away. Live your dream, rep your team, play as your favorite USL Championship club. eFootball, free to play. Download now. I know, you've got 3 kids. I get it.
Well, I just assumed that was going to go atop my Christmas list to you.
Yeah, free to play.
Can you imagine if we brought a gaming system on the road with us? We'd be broke.
Free to play. There's going to be a whistle and a yellow to Hernandez. I wanted to see El Paso play this a bit sooner. You can feel the intensity. It's really pungent right now. Stings the nostrils.
Well, the aggressive nature is going to be there in general for 2 of the teams that have fouled the most in the USL Championship. San Antonio, the spearhead in that, and you add the rivalry into it. The plot continues to thicken. Again, 11 matches between the 2 previously. The home side has only won 3.
El Paso will calmly, with a measured approach, take their first corner of the game tonight. Moshabon's been told to move this along. Plays this. We got another crack. Lost the cross, back post. Sent away, Rose sprints to catch it. Rose crossing away by Zacharias. Game changed on the Brandon Craig stunner in the 65th minute. Dropped in here for San Antonio into the final third. Ball across, Agudelo brought it down. Agudelo! could have been spectacular, ultimately lost to the sands of time.
He had really good numbers, good vision by Jake LaCava to pick out the trailing run of Agudelo, but his first touch escapes him. Unfortunately, that's been a conversation that has been had way too many times in the past couple of seasons for him. Good spot.
Can't tell if that's Agudelo saying, hey, let's go, or if that's Agudelo saying, I don't have anything left.
No, he wants to go. He wants to continue the intensity. It's got to be. He's been much too active over the last 20 minutes to want to step off the field to play right now. He's feeling it. He's ready to go.
Oh, wow, Dylan. Dylan got by, plays it for Zacharias. Send it back toward Padilla. That'll skitter out for a corner. How did El Paso take the lead? It was the 65th minute. Brandon Craig comes off the bench, and what an occasion for the 20-year-old defender from Philly. The injury to Alfaro sees Craig into the game. That hits off the wall, 65th minute, 1-0.
It's got a real good chance, even if it doesn't have the kiss of death off the shoulder for Kendall McIntosh. Too much respect given by the goalkeeper, not enough bodies in the wall, and absolute perfection from the Philadelphia native.
Now a corner for El Paso Locomotive. A second goal could really be the separation they need.
Look at Dollenmeiler against Mulatto. That's a mismatch on the back post.
Instead, they went high for Tumi Moshaban, and that's won back by El Paso, believe it or not. Racing down into the corner, kept by Justin Dillon. Paso tied for the fewest goals scored in the Western Conference, and yet with a little luck, a little kiss off the wall, Craig's goal stands the difference. Akinyoti. Hines. That pocket never closed, so he'll have a go. McIntosh turns away Tumi Moshaban, who steps in to win it back for El Paso. Slide in, wins it for SAFC. Agudelo sweeps up Lacey. The option through the middle is Mulatto. Lacey, Hines pushing, goal kick.
He's had his work cut out for him, Nick Hines, but let's go back to the shot on the other end first. Well taken here, but what an explosive save by Kendall McIntosh. Really good look as to why he's 14th all time in total saves in USL Championship history. Read it the entire way. This matchup has been everything, though. Fair shoulder charge both times by Nick Hines. Busy boy since coming on for Eder Borelli. A long night for that man, Cameron Lacey. Track meet between the two. Physical, mind games. Matchup has given us everything.
Here comes the league debut for Isaiah Garza. Featured in the Open Cup already for San Antonio. Spent time in the SAFC Pro Academy and with Austin FC's academy as well. The 17-year-old forward comes off the bench, replaces Lacey out on the right, and immediately makes a good impact. Mulatto driven away by Dollenmeier. There are certain games that have a habit of being etched into a club's enviable history. And if you win this game, the couple academy kids on the field, only 12 pro contracted players available when it began.
against a rival, regardless of their record, this could be one of those games. If you're El Paso, you're trying to grip the Copa Tejas with both hands right here.
Just watch the positioning of Ramon Pascal. If he tries to cheat too much to the backside, Hernandez will try and pick out that near post.
Hernandez has had some really thrilling set-piece service. Hernandez, header, snapped off the underside of the bar and out. Pick back up, ball languishing through from Mulatto. My oh my, Agudelo almost smashed that in. Hernandez crossing, diving header away, picked up by Padilla, ball bouncing, make that Garza. Floated by Hawkinson and driven away by Rose. Goodness, is this a heavyweight fight? The record's irrelevant. They always are when these teams meet. All the way down into the corner and out. Tainter's on a yellow, so he does need to take care.
I'm not so sure Agudelo could have hit this any cleaner. Obviously, it's a game of inches at this point in time, but beautiful service once again from Hernandez. How do you let Agudelo get that free on the backside? And if anything, he just undercuts it a touch. You know, if he stays up on his feet, Mike, and drives right through this ball, he tickles the nylon. Instead, he lets his body drop a little bit, gets up underneath it, which creates that upward angle and off the crossbar.
August 2021, the last El Paso win against San Antonio. Picked up by Garza, who was all-tournament in the USL Academy playoffs last year. Hernandez just trying to get this out from beyond his feet. Akinyoti couldn't keep it. Ball toward Garza, pulled down by Agudelo. Hawkinson. Ball played through with a deflection. Agudelo caught up to it at the end line. Head on a swivel. Agudelo tried to do too much. He had LaCava inside.
That's good defending, but the midfield has been obliterated by El Paso Locomotive. Akinyoti and Liam Rose are gassed, just standing right atop that defending unit. I mean, they are 5 yards in front of the back four, and then there's a 15-yard gap in the midfield that's forcing Justin Dillon deeper and deeper, and they have no representation up top.
Ball hangs up, knocked over to LaCava.
I'm all for coming into the shell, Mike, but you can't expose that much space centrally. That's why Jorge Hernandez is having his run of it in the midfield, getting on the ball more.
Ball lifted across, swatted away. Hernandez won it back. Hawkinson spots the late run from Garza. Vin Bickler took it away from Calvillo. He's lived in the attacking third. Vin Bickler hangs it up. Hernandez goes leaping into the airspace of Pascal, who's got it. 88 minutes complete. Foul from Padilla. Here come two changes, the last two changes in this game. Belong to El Paso. This is only Yuma's third appearance of the season. Longtime captain for El Paso. Then Jeremy Garay comes in as well, his sixth appearance. This is his eighth different manager, Wilmer Cabrera, in the last 5 years.
And one would guess that this is going to have Wilmer Cabrera add an extra center back onto the back line, bring Yuma in. The question's going to be who's going to control it. I would guess it would be Yuma Monsalvis with Dolomire on the left, Craig on the right, and you can drop into a 5. Jeremy Gray can do a really good job next to Akinyote of closing down that space that we just talked about. It allows you to push those bodies just a little bit higher too.
Rise 99th championship appearance, mostly with Loudoun United. He comes in to try and get a little bit of breath into the lungs of midfield with Rose off. Hernandez tries to body off Calvillo. Drops into Hawkinson. Advantage played. Vind Bickler playing in over the top. And ushered out by Ramon Pascal. He's working on potentially his first USL Championship win and clean sheet. His debut tonight with most of his previous playing career coming with Pumas Tabasco, the reserve team, the Mexican Giant. 6 added minutes. Hawkinson, ball taken away by Zacharias. Dylan lost his footing. Vind Bickler didn't have the support he needed centrally, and Akinyote had closed him down. Hawkinson. Away from Agadello. Zacharias from Vind Bickler. Turning inside Garza. Agadello kept it moving. LaCava got chopped down. Tainter. Through for Agadello, but met by Pascal. Wilmer Cabrera said looking long-term is a mistake. If we don't add points soon, we will have no chance at the playoffs. The season will be a failure. He acknowledged that the expectations in El Paso are different than the ones he felt at Rio Grande Valley. You can argue different than the ones he faced in Montreal, at Chivas USA, potentially even at Houston. Free kick San Antonio. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and the El Paso head coach will always have to wear something of that ilk. Dev Hernandez, magic foot, where's he looking?
I'm trying to figure out where the foul is, first off. Once again, I mean, respectfully, some of the decisions tonight have been very interesting from the referee. The distance is difficult because it's so far out. It's going to be hit with pace for sure. I'm looking at Tainer and Burks.
Hernandez, Hawkinson was in the area. Vind Bickler knocks it back down and calmly settled and grabbed by Pascal.
Problem is, Mike, is you're so far out that you hit it with so much pace. It really doesn't allow guys like Tainer and Burks enough time to get underneath the ball to try and attack some of these set pieces that you go about throughout midweek training sessions. You're almost tempted to just keep possession there, have a touch, rework it, force El Paso out, relieve some of the pressure to open up some space, and then go vertical.
Wrecked ball again, this met by Hines. 2.5 minutes remaining. El Paso took the lead, a free kick in the 65th. Hernandez striking from a long, long way out.
You would have to imagine that given the way that this game has gone, the night that that man has had, if the game-tying goal was to come for San Antonio FC, it would be by way of Jorge Hernandez. Another splendid performance here this evening.
All deadened in front of the back line. 90 seconds remain. Calvillo. Zacharias brought down.
That's great work. And how about Yuma Monsalvis right at midfield line right now? Yuma just telling everybody to calm things down. Initially thought that Wilmer Cabrera was going to drop him onto the back line instead. He's got him right in front of him, locking down those central locations, just the ever steady within the midfield to help gain control over this game in the dying minutes.
Paso fans have to be dreaming right now. Win at Charleston, win at El Paso, or rather at San Antonio for El Paso. Yellow card earned by Zacharias. Maybe, just maybe the good times are here again. Last gasp for San Antonio. All flicked on. Pascal's got it. And if he punts this into the night, he may do it with all 3 points. Got over Hernandez. They'll let this play. Vin Bickler into the width. Last chance here. La Cava, cutback. Got over the end line, corner. Everybody's got to get forward now. We did see an equalizing goal from a goalkeeper earlier this year in Sacramento. Can San Antonio steal, salvage a point right at the death? Can El Paso see this over the line? Corner lifted away by Zacharias. It's full time, and El Paso picks up an enormous win in San Antonio. A free kick, 65th minute winner, and the Locomotive have their second win in 3 games and climb within 5 points of the playoff line.
Short-handed or not, Wilmer Cabrera, you have to tip your cap to how well they performed tonight. He said we have to be more aggressive, we have to be more defensive-minded. This is a good roster, no doubt, great individuals, but can we win as a team? Can we play together and do it on the road? Check every single box tonight for El Paso Locomotive against a short-handed San Antonio team, absolutely. But take nothing away from them. This is deserved. This is the turnaround they've been looking for.
Wilmer Cabrera and El Paso find a bit of a wonder goal. Alfaro comes off injured. Babyface assassin Brandon Craig. The deflection off the wall. Just the 3rd win of the year for El Paso. All on the road. None bigger than this. Wrap up coming up. Cabrera celebrates with the hero tonight. Brandon Craig scores the 65th minute winner. And San Antonio, just their second home loss in the last 26 months, over 40 matches. With Dev and Mike, let's wrap this one up. Take a look at the full-time highlights. We start in the 54th, where the action really picked up.
Well, it comes about on the change, and unfortunately for Wilmer Cabrera, he had to go to his bench here as Tony Alfaro picks up what looks to be a hamstring injury. We'll wait and see how that plays out. In steps the loanee from the Philadelphia Union, Brandon Craig. As they start to come the other direction, a foul. A phantom foul, in their opinion, but it's the first infraction that gets them into the trouble. And the second strike right here, the kiss of death off the wall. The right wand of Brandon Craig into the upper corner and into the lead for El Paso Locomotive.
Skip ahead 3 minutes later, San Antonio started to put the pressure on in midfield, and Hernandez was very dangerous.
It went a little dormant, but give them credit here because this is the response you're looking for if you're Alan Marcina. You needed the energy to be on the uptick, and why not from the golden playmaker? It was Hernandez the entirety of the second half, stretching this field, one-on-one opportunities, and almost breaks the deadlock offensively for San Antonio, but bottom corner, the post, and we go again the other way.
Ahead to the 85th minute, that would not be the only time that they hit the woodwork. Juan Agudelo.
How could he have done this any differently? Again, if you want to be nitpicky, you watch how he ducks just at the tail end of things. Is his vision clouded? Does he start to lose momentum? If he attacks that head on, they get their equalizer. Instead, left wanting more.
Chance for your final thoughts over the final stats.
I would say for San Antonio, it's credit because they were so shorthanded. Reminder, 9 players out due to injury and international duty. They fought brilliantly. They just didn't have enough within the midfield where Wilmer Cabrera, they were dominant. El Paso Locomotive. From start to finish, outside of the final 20 minutes, they were balanced, they were energetic. Most importantly, they were efficient. For the team that produces numbers all over the pitch, all they're looking for is clarity within the final third. They finally got that tonight.
2 weeks from tonight, right here on CBS Sports Network, we'll have Louisville and Pittsburgh. CBS Sports Golazo Network has Monterey Bay and Sacramento on June the 8th, this coming Saturday. What a performance by El Paso on the road. This is an extraordinarily rare San Antonio defeat. For our entire team, Devin Kerr, Mike Watts saying thanks for watching. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, 24-hour home of CBS Sports.